Hello everybody, Mike and Moose here. I bought this tank kit on eBay for between $20 and $25. But if I choose to use aftermarket on it, those parts are going to cost me between $50 and $90. Are aftermarket parts making the hobby better, or are they actually hurting the hobby? Because, depending on who you ask, they're either the best thing that ever happened to the hobby, or they're the reason that the hobby's becoming so expensive. The rise of aftermarket parts is next on Modeling with Mike. Hello and welcome back. Let's start this video off where it should, where we're going to go back to the beginning, back to the pre-2000s, before the explosion of aftermarket. Aftermarket used to be rare and specialized. Back in the earlier days of scale modeling, this is pre-2000s, aftermarket parts were number one, they were hard to find. You couldn't just go and click and buy anything you wanted. Most modelers then relied on either specialty model shops or special mail order catalogs. And the selection was very limited and very brand specific. Aftermarket parts in that time were also much more niche. They weren't made for every kit. They were only made for popular or iconic subjects. You'd basically see basic photo-etch, such as seat belts or grills. You'd see occasional resin cockpits or conversion kits. And if your kit wasn't popular, hey dude, you were SOL. That means shit out of luck. Now back then, aftermarket parts were also aimed at advanced modelers. These parts were not beginner friendly. They had a rough fit. They required heavy modifications such as cutting, sanding, and even scratch building. And they were seen as expert level upgrades, not something that everybody expected you to do. And back then, aftermarket was used to fix, not replace. Originally, they existed to correct inaccuracies and add missing details. They weren't made to completely replace large portions of a kit like they are today. To sum it up, aftermarket parts used to be rare, hard to find, and mostly aimed at experienced builders. They weren't something that every modeler used. They were more like specialty tools for specialty problems. Now, you bring it up to today, there are upgrades for almost everything. You have Photo-etch, you have resin cockpits, wheels, decals, 3D printed parts. Most kits today also seem like they're designed with aftermarket in mind. But this explosion of upgrades has changed the hobby in some big ways, both good and bad. Let's dive into that. Let's first talk about the good. Why aftermarket is amazing. Well, aftermarket adds incredible detail. There are some market kits that, quite frankly, have no detail. You get a nice, applicable aftermarket kit, put them on there correctly, you have great detail where there wasn't before. It lets modelers customize their subjects. It also allows for fixing kit inaccuracies. Let's face it, some of these kits manufacturers didn't do their research before they, made the kit. A lot of these kits are inaccurate, and if you're a stickler, Now, if you're a stickler for accuracy, you're going to go to aftermarket for that, to fix that. And it gives experienced builders new challenges. A case in point, on one of my Facebook modeling groups that I'm a member of, there's this modeler. He's from Singapore. He calls himself SQ Model Maker. And he does some outstanding work in Photo-etch. This guy bends Photo-etch very accurately, and these things barely fit on the tip of your finger. Most of them that I've seen lately are for 1/700th scale ships. The guy is phenomenal. So let's sum all this up in this part. Some of the most incredible models you'll ever see use aftermarket parts, and they can push the hobby to a new level. But there's another side to this. Let's talk about the downside. There's a cost explosion in the aftermarket world. I don't care where you land on this subject, whether you're for or against aftermarket. I believe we all agree that the cost of aftermarket is out of hand. New modelers feel like upgrades are required. Everybody's doing upgrades. Everybody's on YouTube saying, no, you need upgrades, you need upgrades. And the new modelers are saying, do I actually need upgrades? Do I have to have upgrades to make my model correct? Or do I just do what makes me happy? If you use too much aftermarket, it can make kits overly complicated. It can take a simple kit and make it into a very complicated project. And new modelers feel pressure to build perfect models. And even experienced models are feeling this pressure. If you're sitting there buying $30 wheels or $30 tires for your car kit, you want to make damn sure those things go on right. So to sum it up, some people feel like if you're not adding Photo-etch, resin, and upgrades, you're not actually building a serious model. Bullshit. That's bullshit. And from my response to that, this is where things get complicated. Let's dive into the skill and parts debate, shall we? Brings up two questions for this debate. Does aftermarket actually make a model better? And number two, does skill matter more than parts? Well, let's talk about the first question. Does aftermarket actually make a model better? Well, this isn't a question that has a straight yes or no answer, because you could answer it both ways. Let's dive into that. When is the answer yes? When does aftermarket actually improve a model? Well, it improves a model when it actually adds visible, meaningful detail, such as cockpits, engines, and open panels. In other words, when you can see it, when it's not covered up. If you're adding Photo-etch and it's covered up, it doesn't make any sense. Aftermarket improves a model when it corrects major inaccuracies. That goes without saying. And most importantly, aftermarket improves a model when it's installed cleanly and skillfully. To sum it up, if it adds detail you can actually see and it's done well, then yeah, aftermarket can definitely improve a model and make it better. Now, when is the answer to this question, does aftermarket actually make a model better? When is the answer no? Aftermarket doesn't improve a model when the parts are poorly installed, such as crooked PE, messy glue, bad fit, as I said before. It doesn't improve a model at all when it's barely visible. How can it? If it's barely visible when it's finished and you can't see it, how does that improve a model? And it doesn't improve a model when it overcomplicates the build and hurts the final result. In other words, when you try to add too much. If the parts are hard to work with and not installed cleanly, they can actually make a model look worse. To sum it all up, aftermarket doesn't automatically equal a better model. Execution matters more than the parts themselves. A well-built, out-of-box model will almost always look better than a poorly executed aftermarket heavy build. So does aftermarket really make a model better? Or does it just give you the opportunity to make it better? Now this brings us to the second question of the skill versus parts debate. Does skill matter more than parts? Well, yes. Skill almost always matters more than parts themselves. Why is that? Why does skill win? Because a skilled modeler can get a clean, precise build. No seams, good alignment, etc. A skilled modeler can apply smooth paint job and realistic weathering to the model. And a skilled modeler can even make a basic kit look impressive. To sum it all up, a great builder can take a basic kit and make it look incredible. And why parts alone don't win? Well, let's ask ourselves. Number one, do aftermarket parts fix poor assembly? I don't think so. Do aftermarket parts improve bad paint work? I don't see how a set of aftermarket hubs or aftermarket tires can improve brush marks or paint drips or uneven spraying. You tell me. And aftermarket parts can actually highlight mistakes if they're used poorly. You know, say, oh, look at that crooked PE on there. Oh, but look at that big gold glue mark right beside it. All the aftermarket in the world will not fix bad fundamentals. But we're not here to totally bash aftermarket. Let's talk about when parts do help. Aftermarket parts can enhance a strong build. Now listen to that. They can enhance a strong build. They can add detail on top of good skills. To sum it up, aftermarket works best when it builds on skill, not when it replaces it. Because you cannot replace good fundamentals and good skills. Skill is the foundation. Aftermarket is just an upgrade. Let's sum it up by me asking you this, and think about it. Would you rather have a perfectly built out-of-box model or a messy build loaded with upgrades? You tell me. So let's sum this whole skill versus parts debate up with this one thing. A great builder can do incredible things with a basic kit and simple tools. So now, what does matter? Skill or upgrades? You tell me. Now, folks, this is a channel built upon budget-friendly scale modeling. And I am a budget scale modeler. So I'm going to give you the budget builder perspective here. Number one, you don't need aftermarket to enjoy the hobby. That's bottom line. That's what the hobby is all about, is enjoyment, your personal enjoyment. Not to satisfy all these people who say you need aftermarket to make this accurate or that accurate. If you don't want to make it accurate, don't make it accurate. Number two, some of the most amazing models are built straight from the box. I'll tell you what, IPMS Nationals coming up this August, and they're 40 miles down the road from my house. from my apartment. I don't live in a house, I live in an apartment. But 40 miles down the road in Fort Wayne. Most of the time in these contests, they have a category for out-of-box builds. Now, if you can't make it, go to somebody's channel who has video from the IPMS Nationals and look at those models that are made out of box. Most, if not all, are incredible models, guaranteed. So many amazing models can be built straight from the box. And this is very important for most of the beginning modelers. You need to focus on skills and fundamentals rather than spending. I believe every modeler will agree with me on that. If you're building on a budget, the good news is you don't have to buy up every upgrade set to build something great. You have great skills, great fundamentals, that's enough. So let's all put a bow on this, give you the balanced truth. Aftermarket is a tool, not a requirement. Don't listen to somebody if they tell you you have to have aftermarket, because you don't. You never have had to. Back in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you had to do it out of OOB or scratch build. That was it. OOB scratch build. As I said before, aftermarket was a niche thing. It was very, very selective. Remember that aftermarket can enhance the hobby when used wisely and correctly and skillfully. Otherwise, it makes no sense. But here's the big thing, especially for you beginners out there. The key is building the way you enjoy, not building the way everybody else tells you how to build. So let's sum it up this way. Aftermarket parts are not the problem. Aftermarket parts are not the problem. The problem is feeling like you have to use them. Let me repeat that. Aftermarket parts are not the problem. The problem is feeling that you have to use them. At the end of the day, the best model is the one you enjoy building. Period. End of sentence. End of discussion. So that leaves me to 3 questions I have for you. I'm curious. Do you love aftermarket parts? Are you on the side that think they're the reason that the hobby is too expensive? Do you use aftermarket? And if you use aftermarket, what was the most amount of money you've ever spent on an upgrade? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. In this video, don't forget about our Facebook group, The Frugal Scale Modeler. I always have a link in the video description. You hit that link, take you to the home page, answer 3 questions relating to modeling, and agree to the group rules if you want to join, and you're in. Don't forget to do those 2 things. You have to do those 2 things before you post. So make sure you answer the 3 questions and agree to the group rules. And we are in the beginning stages of our next group build, which is a group build around the theme of America's 250th birthday. All the rules are on a post in the post section, and I'll put a link to that in the video description so you can easily go find them. And also, don't forget that I have a discount code with Gallery Airbrush Company on their website. Just enter the code MWMike, all capital letters, all one word, MWMike. Enter that at checkout. You get 10% off your purchase. That's on the website. I also have a discount code for their store on Amazon. If you're going that route and buying something from Gallery, use the code SH48Mike. Again, all capital letters, all one word, SH48Mike. Use that code at checkout. You'll get a 5% discount on your purchase there. Next video. I am going to show you cheap fixes for 5 different common model mistakes. So that should be pretty interesting. So that's all I've got for you for this one. You know what we always say here, never stop pushing your modeling boundaries, and until next time, we'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.